Hello, everyone. Welcome. Okay, I hope you are ready for the direct mail webinar. Forget about digital marketing. That's not what we're here for. April Fools. We're just kidding. This is the Ad Grants webinar. You came to the right place. We are all about digital marketing here at Community Boost, but we could not resist throwing in an April Fool's joke. So thank you for playing along. We'll give people a little bit more time to come on in. I hope no one has had another prank pulled on them already today. Okay, we'll give people a few more minutes. Oh, let's see.
I can hear you, Em.
Okay, interesting.
I don't know.
Oh,
there we go.
Wow, I'm so impressed.
I love it.
That is a good one. That was payback for sure. I deserve that. I love it. I love the spirit, the way we're kicking off this webinar.
Our team is big prankers, so I'm sure we'll be getting some today. Now everybody's already planning, so appreciate you guys playing along.
I should have known there was already a prank in our team meeting this morning. We pretended that one person was muted and wasn't even there in the Zoom call. So we said, oh, we'll just tell them after this. We'll let them know. And they were saying, I'm here. So I really shouldn't have fallen for that one. Okay, awesome. Well, while we are still waiting for people to come on in, we would love if you could post in the chat. Just tell us your experience with Google Ad Grants. If you have no idea what it is and you just want to learn more, if you're going through the application process, if you are kind of a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level practitioner, we would just love to get an idea of where you're all at. Okay, looks like we're getting a good spread. And just as a reminder, we are going to go through a little bit of a presentation and deck, but then we will have time at the end for questions and answers. So we'll be posting those in the chat as well. So feel free to take notes during this whole presentation, and then we can address specific questions at the end.
Great. Seeing a lot of new people who are just applying. Some people have a little bit of experience.
Awesome. Well, we feel like this webinar will be very good for kind of all levels. We'll be starting out on the kind of intro of search, and then we'll be going through some tactics and trends. So we feel like there will be something for everyone here. And then again, we'll have the questions and answers at the end. And just a little plug on our website for Community Boost, we have a lot of Ad Grants resources and case studies, so feel free to take a look there too. And we'll go over the next steps after this. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but we definitely have a lot of resources for every skill level. Okay. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Again, we're so excited that you're all here and joining us for the Google Ad Grants webinar, how to make the most of your free 10,000 per month in 2021 and beyond. So a little bit about us, besides the fact that we are pranksters. My name is Emily. I am a senior consultant at Community Boost. I'm also the Google Ads area practice manager. So I live and breathe Google Ads, especially the ad grant. So I'm really excited to be here and just talk about what I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, and I'm Isabel Ashraf. I'm a digital specialist on our team. I specialize in ad grant, but also work on YouTube, display, things like that. But I live and breathe Google as well. So really excited to be here with you all.
Awesome. So the agenda today, like I kind of mentioned, we are going to go through an intro of Google Ad Grants, and then we're going to see the ad grant in action through a case study. And then we're going to go into trends to keep into 2021, trends that we had seen in 2020. And then we'll go through resources and next steps. So just kicking off with kind of an intro to search in general. So the power of search is pretty clear. There are about 4 billion internet users worldwide, 8 billion connected devices, and there are 5.6 billion searches on Google every day. So your audience is definitely there. It's a platform that has just incredible visibility. And what makes search marketing so powerful, besides the tremendous reach and visibility that you can get for your nonprofit, is really the intent. A lot of other marketing channels are very passive, and we kind of have to reach out to the supporters that we're trying to reach. But with search, people are initiating, they're actively participating, and oftentimes they're looking to take action on the searches that they make. And through that, we can really be highly targeted. So we can still segment people into the audiences that are going to be more likely to kind of fit our donor or supporter profile. So we can still hone in on the type of person that's going to convert. And we can also measure in real time. So through analytics and other tools, we can create goals and see what actions people are taking outside of just clicking on Google Ads. So we can see how Google Ads is contributing to a host of different goals and conversions. It's also incredibly responsive. So, you can create a campaign in a few minutes if you're really fast enough, and you can create ads definitely in a few minutes. And, we know that many nonprofits are very topical. They are working with a lot of issues that are in the news. And so you might need to create ads really quickly for a natural disaster, for example. And so with Google Ads, you can create ads and have them live within hours. And so you can really respond when people are searching in real time. And for nonprofits specifically, people are 7 times more likely to visit your site from search than they are from social media. So the average visits from search is around 47%, and then the average visits from social media is 6.92. So we definitely love social media. I'm definitely not knocking that. We think it's a great strategy and something that you should definitely incorporate in your digital marketing mix. But just highlighting the fact that search is just really visible, and people are more likely to be proactive in taking action to get to your site, and then also to take actions once they get there. So it's definitely important to be building out both your social media and your search strategy. So this is the anatomy of a search engine results page. We can see at the top, we have the search term, and then the first results are the paid ads. And right under that, we can see the organic results as well. So kind of like I mentioned with social media, we still love for nonprofits to focus on organic and SEO. It's incredibly important to use both of those tools, both paid search and organic, to reach people who are on Google. But we can see that 46% of the clicks on the page are from paid listings. So with SEO, you do have to work a little bit harder. It's a long-term game to get on the first page. Once you're there, it can be incredibly consistent. So we definitely love SEO. But the great thing to supplement that time that it takes to get on the first page with SEO is paid search. So with paid search, we can create ads and potentially get on the first page, like I said, within hours. And so that is really the beauty of search. You can get to the top a lot quicker. It's just more likely that people are going to click on the ads because they don't have to scroll the whole length of the page. So it just kind of adds another tool to your arsenal of Google search.
Yeah, thanks, Em. So again, what is the Google Ad Grant? How do we use it, and how do we really utilize it for nonprofits? So again, the Ad Grant is $10,000 a month that Google gives nonprofits to spend on search ads specifically. And this is really, $329 a day to really focus on getting in front of users from branded and also non-branded terms, which is kind of the most valuable part of the Ad Grant, is getting in front of the non-branded keywords like anxiety help or things like that. So the Ad Grant is really great at connecting people to resources. And I think the most powerful part of the Ad Grant is really being able to connect users to some of the nonprofits who are really on the front lines of these issues, and really being able to directly connect them with the people who understand these issues the best. And that's kind of my favorite part about the Ad Grant. But again, there's a lot of power behind this $10,000 grant and being able to do it on search and go after non-branded keywords. And like Emily said, really being at the top of the page, which is where you want to be in this search results, to get people to click and drive users to your site. The ad grant does a great job at, increasing your traffic to the site, increasing conversions, and also building brand awareness as well. So the ad grant has given over $10 billion, serves 115,000 nonprofits in over 67 countries. Again, $10,000 worth of free search ads each month. So we're going to kind of go into a case study and kind of explain to you the impact this ad grant can have, just some key metrics as to what these ad grants are helping nonprofits do, and to improve their mission as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Southern Environmental Law Center. It's a law center, obviously, in the South that works on specifically climate change issues, and working on pipeline issues, basic rights of clean air and water, livable climates, things like that. It's a really unique organization, as the South is a pretty interesting and diverse climate, and works on a lot of laws and policies and working to make sure that they're protecting those environmental rights. Really amazing organization, and their main goal for their ad grant is to build brand awareness, increase listenership to their podcast and drive users there, and also generate donations to continue funding their work as well. So as you can see, from October to January, they had a $37,000 ad spend, which resulted in over 8,000 clicks to the site, which is really valuable traffic. Most of this is non-branded as well. So people who are looking for, climate change, ways they can help support environmental rights, things like that. 38 donations, over $20,000 in donation value from those ads, and then 112 outbound clicks to their podcast. And again, we're really utilizing some of these strategies we'll talk about later to really help drive those clicks and donations to the site. But this ad grant has really, been a really key factor in a lot of the traffic that they're driving to the site, and also just helping build that brand awareness for other marketing channels as well. So we're going to talk about these trends that we want to take into 2021, the things we've seen work really well, and the things that really can take accounts from, performing mediocre to really performing really well and utilizing as much of that $10,000 spend as possible. So this is the chips from the $15.7 million in ad spend we've managed in 2020, and things we want to, carry over and grow in 2021. So again, we're going to go over responsive search ads, and this is kind of explaining, you can switch to the next slide. I can just go. Thank you. So responsive search ads, really, really, really powerful tool to be using. It's been out for a little bit, but we're seeing definitely Google utilize and favor these ads even more recently. So the traditional expanded text ads are 3 headlines and 2 descriptions. It will say in the format that you write them in, and Google automatically tests different combinations, but for the most part, keeps it in that order. So, you're limited to the headlines and the descriptions that you can fill in here. With responsive search ads, which you'll see on the left-hand side right here, is you have the option to create a lot more headlines, a lot more descriptions. And the biggest benefit to doing responsive search ads is that it will give you automatically an ad strength score when you're building this out. And I really want to emphasize that point, because we don't get that with expanded text ads. But the reason why this ad strength score is so important is because then we can really be able to instantly get feedback on our ads and see how Google views our ads and how they relate to the keywords that we've put into the account. And this is really, really important. Another benefit to responsive search ads is that we're just able to, get a lot more volume with this as well. So Google's favoring these responsive search ads because it's able to adjust these ads to really be able to match the user and what they're searching for. So a lot of times these responsive search ads have a really significant difference in spend, conversions, cost per conversions, average cost per click, a lot of these metrics, and they're really, really strong at just matching, utilizing the tools that Google's giving us, but allowing Google to kind of reshape our ads a little bit to what Google thinks and has the data to back up what these users want. Great. So the second thing we're going to talk about is the search terms report. I think this is like an underutilized tool and something we kind of forget about, but the search terms report is a report about all the search terms users have typed into Google. So I really want to make this clear around the difference between search terms and keywords. So keywords are actual keywords that we're putting into the account that we want to be going after. So broad match keywords, so anything we think are relevant to the brand and what we want to be going after, that traffic we want to be going after. Search terms then are what Google is connecting to those keywords that we put in there. So they might match just slightly. They might have words that are, just slightly off, but still related to the keywords that we're putting into the account. And that's why we're putting those broad match keywords, so we can have a bigger bucket to catch a lot of this search volume. But the catch with search terms is that sometimes we're going after keywords, or Google is relating some of our keywords to search terms that aren't as relevant, maybe wasting spend, maybe not converting, or maybe just like not worthwhile for us to be going after at all. So it's really important to create a negative keyword list, kind of map out or exclude some of those keywords that we're wasting spend on or have really high cost per clicks, things like that. So an example for this is if you put a keyword into an account with COVID information, let's just say for a health center, whatever the nonprofit is, right? Google might be also relating COVID vaccines to that COVID information. And the reason why we don't want to do that is because maybe the center is not providing vaccines. So it's not worthwhile for us to be spending money and directing traffic to the site when we're not even supplying vaccines, right? So we're wasting spend on these keywords, but we're also just driving users to the site that's not going to find their information that we're going to want on our site as well. So it's important to kind of exclude this, go through the search terms report, and negate the keywords that are not worthwhile for us to go after. But at the same time, the search terms report can be really, really insightful into other keywords that Google is finding related to the keyword list that we put in there. But might be converting, might be keywords that are slightly different than what we have in the account, but we can be going after them more aggressively by putting them actually in the account on the keyword list. And these are really important to just find different conversions, find different keywords that you didn't think about, and things like that. So it's really, really important to go through this search terms report. And this next slide will kind of show us more. This is our search terms report for one of our accounts, and how much money we're spending on COVID loans, and that was a related term to our account as well. But how many conversions was also coming from that search term. So adding that into the account, going after that keyword a little bit more aggressively, and really telling Google, hey, we really want to go after this keyword. And this is relative to our account as well. So smart bidding strategies, probably one of the most important strategies that you can do when you're running an ad grant is utilizing smart bidding strategies. So smart bidding strategies can to give you a varying different results as well. And it's really important to test a combination of these different strategies with the same campaign. So, copying over campaigns, same campaign, just different bidding strategy to really understand how Google is viewing this campaign, how they're viewing the content on your site, and how they're really understanding the data. So it's really interesting to kind of combine this all together, right? So as you can see in this screenshot too, we have a target CPA campaign, a CPC enhanced campaign, and then a maximize conversions campaign, and just the difference in data here as well. So with target CPA, we're really telling Google, hey, we really want, this specific cost per conversion. Usually it's a little bit lower with the averages, but we're trying to really refine what we want to pay for that conversion. So we're telling Google, this is the amount of money that we want to be spending for this conversion. Maximize conversions is really telling Google we want as many conversions as possible. So just optimize for the number of conversions. This is really helpful in ad grant accounts specifically because, we have that big budget of $10,000. So this can be really utilizing that budget as well. But again, we're testing different strategies against each other to see the difference in that. And then maximize conversion value. This really works well for campaigns that have expected to or have already proven to generate revenue as well. But it's really important to test these against each other to really understand, the difference in cost per conversion. What's the most valuable thing for your organization? Is that conversions? Is that just driving users to the site? What are those conversions? There's a lot of questions that come with that, but testing out these different bidding strategies will give us different insights as to, how the campaigns are performing, how Google views these campaigns, and using its algorithm to advance the performance of these campaigns as well.
Awesome. So the next trend that we're going to look at is demographic adjustments. So a note here is that you can exclude demographic groups at the campaign and ad group levels, but you can make bid adjustments just at the ad group level. So these two screenshots show examples of exclusions and also bid adjustments. So this is really important, especially if you're maybe maxing spend in the ad grant account, or even not if you want to refine your traffic a little bit further. The great thing about Google Ads is that you can use data to make those decisions. So you might have a typical demographic supporter profile, which is great to kind of have in mind and play around with as you're launching your campaigns. But you can also launch the campaigns with a pretty wide net, and then you can use demographic refinement through exclusions and bid adjustments to exclude groups that aren't converting. So you might think that females are going to be the highest converting demographic in a particular campaign, and it might surprise you once you launch those campaigns and see different results from the data. So some other examples of demographic refinement are, let's say you have a campaign that's focusing exclusively on female health services. It's probably a good idea to exclude males from that campaign. You can also exclude users in the 18 to 24 age group from a campaign around senior services because they're probably going to be less likely to convert there. But then with bids, you can also increase bids or decrease bids. So you can increase bids, let's say, for the top 10% household income after you see that they've had the highest conversion rate in a donation campaign. Or you could decrease bids for users who are ages 65 and over because you notice that they don't convert as highly for a campaign that's maybe encouraging app downloads. So there's a lot of different options there. And with the bid adjustments, it's still working within smart bidding. So that's the great thing about smart bidding. It does kind of take a lot of those manual decisions into account, but we can kind of give Google different kind of signals and kind of say, focus on this demographic or don't focus on this demographic as much. So it kind of combines the beauty of smart bidding with a little bit of the older manual strategies. And so in this example here, we were trying to sell tickets in this account. And so we did have a variety of campaigns using branded keywords, awareness keywords, keywords that were really specifically related to ticket sales. That was good to kind of lead people along in the funnel and have different options for whether a person knew exactly about this nonprofit or whether they were just looking for something to do in their area or whether they were really interested in theater. And so we had a variety of campaigns, and throughout those campaigns, we used demographic adjustments and ad schedule bid adjustments as well. But you can see in the screenshots here, females ages 65 and over were definitely the highest converting age group. So we took action on increasing bids there. And then we can also look at the ad schedule. You can look by day or hour or kind of a combination of both to see when people are converting. And so then you can kind of refine and say, I don't want to show my ads at 3 in the morning or maybe after 9 p.m. So you can kind of hone in on when your target audience is typically searching. So in this account, we were able to spend about $47,000 and get about 8,900 clicks and 800 ticket sales with about a value of 24,000. So this was between November 1st to the end of March. And this works really well with ticket sales. And so we definitely encourage all nonprofits, though, to really be thinking about the ways that they can refine and hone in on their supporters instead of just casting this super wide net of anyone who's searching for, things to do near me. So kind of similarly to demographics, we're going to talk about audiences now, and this is a relatively new feature within the Ad Grants program, is being able to target certain audiences. So kind of a breakdown, we have affinity audiences, in-market, and then remarketing. So with affinity audiences, you are reaching people based on their habits and interests. So things like pet lovers, avid investors, or green living enthusiasts. This category is probably the easiest to right off the bat tell what's going to be most relevant to your nonprofit. Let's say you're a climate change nonprofit, targeting green living enthusiasts is probably a good idea. Or if you are a humane society, targeting pet lovers is also going to be a great strategy. But again, like I said with demographics, you can use the data to really guide those decisions. And so you can look in analytics and see the audiences that have typically converted, both on the Google Ads side and just in general on your site, and you can start to target those affinity categories. You can also use this with in-market. So those are users, and we're reaching them based on their purchase intent. So for example, autos and vehicles, and it can get as granular as, say, Lexus owners or people looking for Lexus. We can also do event tickets, baby and children's products, maybe if you're trying to target parents. So this is going to be a little bit more tangential. You might not have, a typical in-market audience in mind for your nonprofit, but you can see through the data, you might be able to start building one once you look in analytics. Let's say you're trying to sell tickets that are pretty expensive, targeting people who have recently looked for, really nice cars, are traveling a lot, and are just looking for products that are a little bit higher end can kind of give us an idea of the type of person who might be willing to spend $500 on a single ticket. So you can start to kind of build that as you go along through Google Ads and the analytics. And the last type of audience is remarketing. So this is how you can reach users who have interacted with your site. So this could be broad. You could target all people who have been to your site in general. You can also get a little bit more granular, and you can target people who, say, have reached your donation page but not yet completed that donation. There are certain requirements of how big that audience has to be in order to target on Google Ads, which is why you might have to just start out with targeting people who have visited your site. But for people who get a lot of web traffic, it's a great idea to target people who have reached a certain page but not taken that action. And so the last trend that we really want to take into 2021, and to be honest, probably take into the next few years and foreseeable future, because this is always important. We are always saying at Community Boost, make sure you're measuring what matters. And so we're always thinking about the digital marketing funnel when we're creating goals. So even if your end goal is donations, what steps can you track before someone decides to donate that will allow you to remarket to that audience, keep them engaged with your mission, just kind of keep them involved while they're along their way to becoming a brand advocate. Because a lot of times we see through the ad grant and other sources like SEO, this is usually the first touch point for people. They're typing in a very generic query, and if they reach your site, they need to get to know you. They might sign up for your newsletter first. They might decide to donate, or they might decide to volunteer before they donate. And so it's really important to track all of those actions before to see kind of the overall picture of the impact that Google Ads is making. So you can create conversion goals within Google Ads and then use Google Tag Manager to configure them, or you can create goals in analytics and then import them into Google Ads. So either way works really well. All of those platforms are free to use, which is great. You can also, you can see in the screenshot, track phone calls if that is important to your goals. So this is just always going to be very relevant. It's definitely part of the ad grant program. We know that the ad grant team is very focused on rewarding accounts that are tracking meaningful conversion goals. So it's just important to kind of have an overall effective account. So just as a recap, what we went over: responsive search ads, search term reports, smart bidding strategies, demographic and audience refinements, and then meaningful conversion goals. So we really hope that you enjoyed all of that content that we got to share. And now we have quite a bit of time for Q&A, but first have to do a shameless plug for next steps and resources. First and foremost, you can go to communityboost.org/let's talk if you're interested in a complimentary ad grant audit and strategy session. You can also join the Community Boost texting community. This is pretty new, but we're so excited about it. This means you can have digital marketing advice at your fingertips, tips and tricks from our in-house experts, and you can get updates on our upcoming webinars and events. Just because we're all remote does not mean we are slowing down on webinars. We have so many planned, and so we're really excited to just keep you plugged in for all the events that we have in 2021. So you can text JOIN to 619-202-8959 to get involved. So now we have quite a bit of time for Q&A, so we'll be answering questions through the chat and through the Q&A feature. So feel free to just keep questions coming, and we will kind of switch off and get to as many as we possibly can.
I'm also going to launch a poll for anybody interested in a strategy session as well. Feel free to fill that out, and we can also reach out to you for that.
Let's see, one question that I had seen when we were going over smart bidding strategies is wondering if we're using multiple smart bidding strategies at the same time, if that would kind of cannibalize our own efforts, which is a really good point. But the great thing about Google is that you can have duplicates of, say, the same keywords in different ad groups or different bidding strategies running at the same time, and Google will choose what they feel is the best option for that auction. So, I mean, there are thousands of auctions that happen. And so in each of those instances, Google is saying, okay, for this auction, is target CPA going to work best? Is maximized conversions going to work best here? And so that's why we can see kind of that varying performance. And even over a few months span, you might have a maximized conversion campaign perform really well in January. And then in February, the target CPA campaign might kind of take that traction and run really well. So it's important to kind of keep a variety, especially in ad grants. We have the budget to test campaigns out the same at multiple times. So with a paid strategy, you want to be a little bit more exclusive with the types of bidding strategy you're using, but with the grant, we just have the room to test out multiple strategies at one time. Okay, let's see. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of switch off and answer some questions here.
One question that I've been seeing is, will we share the deck? Yes, we will. I know there's a lot of content on this deck as well, so that's why we pack it with content so you all can have it as later as well.
Yeah, and also another plug, we have a community-based ad grants academy. So I know there was one question about kind of diving into platform, actually using the ad grant, creating ads. We're not going to go in platform today, but through the Ad Grants Academy, it is a really extensive deep dive into Google Ads, and it goes through the strategies that we talked about today, but plenty more. And it goes more into platform with screen shares and or screen grabs and recordings and screenshots. And so it talks a lot more about how to actually kind of do the dirty work of creating campaigns and ads and all of that. So if you're interested, you can go to our website as well and look into the Ad Grants Academy for kind of a deeper training. Okay. Let's see some questions.
I can talk about this one too. Somebody asked, can you talk a little more about the difference between responsive search ads and expanded text ads? Yeah, so just to clarify that a little bit more, they look exactly the same in the search results. The only difference is how you set them up and how much information that you give Google in terms of headlines and descriptions. So usually in the Google Ads account, they will kind of force you almost to do a responsive search ad first before you do expanded text ads. They kind of look in that format that we showed a little bit earlier as well, with just a lot of different lines for headlines, a lot of different lines for descriptions. So the biggest difference between those two different formats is how you set them up. Responsive search ads just give you a lot more flexibility in adding headlines, looking at the ad string score and things like that. And an expanded text ad is just 3 headlines and 2 descriptions, and that's completely it. Responsive search ads, again, kind of optimize for what the user is searching for, and switch around those headlines, use different headlines and things like that. There is a little bit of control you can use with responsive search ads and pinning headlines in certain areas. So if you want to use an abbreviation of your brand name versus spelling it all out, you can pin those in the same position so they don't show at the same time. But yeah, that's the biggest difference between those two.
Yeah, and there were a few questions on conversion tracking. So Google does have a good amount of resources on their site for beginners on how to create goals through both the Google Ads platform and GTM, and also analytics. So I would definitely recommend checking out their site. They also have a lot of in-platform help. So when you go to conversions to create one, there are kind of a lot of prompts to learn more, and then it'll pull up a window in the platform to kind of get more information on how to create goals. Specifically with conversion value, when you're creating goals, you can either just assign one value to a goal. So let's say it's a newsletter sign up and you're using a target CPA campaign. So you do want to have some sort of value assigned to that goal, but it's not that intuitive. So it's not a donation so it doesn't have dynamic revenue. That would be the place where you can say an email sign up is worth $5 for us. And so then you can kind of assign that manual value to that goal. But then through Google Tag Manager, you can dynamically pull in revenue for donations, purchases, other events like that. And so creating a goal in Google Ads and then using GTM is going to be kind of your best option there. Let's see.
Any questions?
And then with instructions on how to register for Google Ad Grants, the first thing that you're going to need to do is get registered with Google for Nonprofits. So that's the first step. You just go to google.com/nonprofits. It'll prompt you to create an account. If you don't have an account yet, it will ask you to be verified with TechSoup. So there are kind of a few different steps before you can apply for the ad grant. All of it is just so that Google verifies that charities are registered properly. And so you would create a TechSoup and then use that for Google for Nonprofits. And that is going to be the hub where you apply for the ad grant. Once you have Google for Nonprofits, the application process is really quick. You just have to fill out a survey and then Google will get back to you within a few days. And so it's pretty quick once you have Google for Nonprofits access.
To kind of go off that too, I saw somebody asking a question earlier around how does Google kind of control that cap and limiting the spend to like that $10,000 a month, which is a really good question. For ad grant accounts, you shouldn't have to put in any payment information into that. If you do, it is not an ad grant account. It's really a good distinction to make because a lot of times nonprofits think it's their ad grant account, but it's really a paid account and they're spending their own money on that credit card. So if you have an ad grant account, there should be no payment attached to it. And Google kind of caps your daily spend or adjusts it a little bit based on your total monthly spend. But yes, if you have an ad grant account, do not attach, and you shouldn't have to attach a payment to it if you are getting that set up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And then I'm also seeing some more questions about bidding and kind of the process with keywords. And so I just wanted to address that because in our smart bidding slide, we kind of pointed out that that is how we get above the $2 cost per click limit, but just wanted to expand on that. So with manual bidding and the ad grant, we are at a $2 cost per click limit. So that's as high as you can manually bid for a keyword. But the beauty of smart bidding strategies and why we're pushing it so hard is that you can go above that $2 bid limit through smart bidding. The caveat there is that it's not manual. So Google decides in auction time, if this is a well-written ad, if the keywords are all really closely aligned, and if the landing page is really high quality and you're using smart bidding, that's where Google will say, okay, this is a really well-written ad and high-functioning account, and we feel like the user is going to benefit from getting to this site. And so that's where they will, on their end, kind of automatically raise that bid to compete with other accounts. And so that's where we can see our average cost per click above $2, upwards of $4, $5, $6, $7. We see some keywords, I think the highest is around $40, I think, that I've seen for a keyword, but those are going to be a little bit fewer and far between. It's a lot easier to show up for more inexpensive keywords. So we do really recommend, if you are seeing that a lot of your keywords are very competitive and expensive because there are either for-profit companies bidding on them or just other nonprofits using a normal paid account, we really recommend using both the ad grant and a paid account in tandem with each other. And I think this kind of goes along with what I mentioned at the beginning with SEO. A lot of times those three areas are kind of pitted against each other. It's almost like there has to be one that is chosen, either SEO, ad grants, or a regular paid search account. But we really want to encourage you all to think of it kind of as a Google suite. And so you can use those different channels for kind of different reasons. So like I mentioned with SEO, it's a longer term game, but once you're on the first page, it's a bit more consistent. With ad grants, you can get to the top of the page a lot quicker than SEO. But if your keywords are a bit more expensive, you might not show up as much. But that's where a paid search account could come in and you can show up a lot more. This impression share for paid search accounts is around 60%. So you're just going to get a little bit more visibility and be able to compete with more expensive keywords. And so we think it's a really good idea, if budget allows, to kind of use all three of those to just kind of fill your arsenal.
Mm-hmm. Another question that might be relating, more people might have questions about this too, is around mental health nonprofits. anything around sensitive content, around ads that are getting flagged for housing, employment, and credit, things like those. Those are all like sensitive. They can be approved limited, they can also be disapproved. Really good question. A lot of nonprofits deal with disapprovals and around sensitive information. The thing around mental health nonprofits is sometimes you kind of have to go a little bit more broader in the keywords that you go after a little bit. Google's pretty specific and pretty strict about policy around mental health, around like drug treatments and clinical trials, like cancer research, things like that. Anything health related, mental health related, they're pretty strict on. My biggest advice for that would be to go after more broad match or like broader terms around like anxiety help or anxiety information, things like that. Sometimes those kinds of things work. But around the sensitive content, it can be really difficult. And another way you can go about it as well is reaching out to support and asking for kind of specific reasons around, what is getting disapproved, why is it getting disapproved, things like that. It kind of gives you more information about the disapprovals or the restrictions that you're seeing in your account as well, which is you can do through the actual ads platform. There's a question mark at the top of it. If you click on that and contact us, you can get a chat from that as well.
Now let's see, we're getting a few questions about, average grant utilization you're seeing across industry. We do know that the ad grants team is working on coming out with some new benchmark numbers, so we will have kind of a bigger overall picture of the ad grant program in total. So that'll come from the ad grants team, but just based off of our clients and what we've seen from years of using the ad grant, the utilization does vary. We definitely want to be using as much of the grant as it makes sense for your nonprofit. So not all nonprofits are created equal. Some of you are targeting or can really target people across the whole United States. That just naturally opens up so much more search volume. That's just millions more people who are able to be searching for the things that are relevant for your nonprofit. And that might differ a lot from maybe a local org. So if you're a theater or a museum, you can definitely target people who are interested in your area, but might be coming from out of state. But in general, if you're targeting a smaller location like a county or even just one particular state, the results can potentially vary just because of the geo-targeting and how many people you're able to reach. So we definitely just encourage clients to really focus on what makes sense for them and spending as much as it makes sense for the keywords that are in the account. So we believe that it's much better to have only really relevant, applicable keywords in your account rather than just stuffing keywords in the account in order to spend $10,000. Because at the end of the day, if people are getting to your site and just bouncing right off, or they're not converting, it's not really worth it to have those people get to your site through the ad grant just to say that you spent the $10,000. So we definitely encourage pushing the account spend to be as high as it possibly can in the account, but we're typically looking more at conversions and conversion rates. Ultimately, that's why you're using Google Ads. You want to be getting conversions, whether that's email signups, volunteers, donations, kind of a whole host of things. And so we definitely want to be looking more at how is the ad grant leading to those conversions? Or even if it just means people who are staying on site, who are engaged, who then might get even more involved from a Facebook ad later on. It's really just all about measuring active, engaged users. Okay, let's see, just reading through some more questions here. Let's see. So there's some questions about just who to get in contact with to set up your first Google ad. Again, you can go to the Ad Grants website and that will get you started with the ad grant in Google Ads. And they have resources on how to do that. Again, just to plug that, you can go to our site and receive an audit, or if you don't have the ad grant yet, just a strategy session on how to start that process. So you can go to our site for that. We also, again, just have resources on our website and blog about how to kind of get started with Google Ads. So we definitely just recommend a combination of our website and going to the specific Google Ad Grants website. That should kind of cover how to get started. And then, yeah, let's see, Garland asked, should we sign up before we have an audit with you? Yeah, I think that would add some increased value. We would really encourage you to get the ad grant, get started, just play around with it, see what results you're seeing and see how comfortable you are with optimizing the ad grant, and then signing up for an audit. Either way though, if you just want to get more information and talk to our team, you can definitely sign up first, but I think it would be a good idea to get the ad grant and play around with it first. And then there's also a question about the general website requirements to qualify for the ad grant. So just kind of a larger overview, the ad grant is available for all 501c3 nonprofits. There are a few exceptions for government institutions, educational institutions, and healthcare institutions, which would be more like hospitals. You don't have to worry if you're just involved in health services. But more on the hospital side. So those are a few exceptions, but for the most part, it's going to be all 501c3 nonprofits. And there are kind of specific requirements for your website. You just have to have really good navigation. There can't be any website errors like 404 errors. Google just wants to see that you have a high quality website. And so that can get a little bit subjective once you start the application process. If Google flags your website for, not being up to par, they will let you know what you need to change. There might be a section of your website that isn't working. You might not know about it, or you might just need to add a little bit more navigation. But for the most part, we see a lot of our nonprofits qualify through the website requirements. It's nothing too crazy. Will websites be part of the audit? Yeah, we definitely will look at the site in order to give recommendations for how to improve the ad grant. So I guess just saying that the website requirements aren't that crazy is true, but we definitely want to push nonprofits to have the highest quality websites possible, because at the end of the day, Google is ranking ads through quality score, which really takes into account the keywords that are in your ad groups, the ads that you create, but also landing pages is just a huge part of that. So if you're directing people to a page that has no information, no content, doesn't relate at all to the keywords in that ad group, Google's less likely to show your ads because they aren't thinking that the user is going to benefit from getting to that page. At the end of the day, Google is still a very informational driven tool. And so we want to be satisfying the user's search by getting to your page. And so it is very important to have the keywords that you're going after on your landing pages. Have the landing pages include a lot of content that is related to what they might be searching for.
Mm-hmm. And to go off of that too, that's a great point when we talk about websites. Another tip too is the easiest way I think I've seen nonprofits build their websites up and kind of increase that quality score, as that's going to become even more and more important to Google and to Google Ads as well in the coming months and years, is they're really valuing that quality score, landing page experience, user experience on your site. And one of the easiest ways to kind of build up that quality score is including blogs around tips, around advice, around certain subjects, things like that. We see those really help nonprofits just increase their users to their site because they have relevant content that matches the searches that they're going after. And it's kind of just a first step for getting users on their site, getting familiar with their brand, providing them some information, and then potentially coming back later as well. But blogs are amazing and they can really help support that quality score piece of it. That's really important to the ad grant.
Yeah, that's such a good point. A lot of those informational keywords will also be a lot less expensive. And so you can use that opportunity, like Isabel said, to just bring people in, get a higher volume of people through more inexpensive informational keywords, and then retarget them through ad grants or through other platforms like Facebook, YouTube display.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see, are there any other questions as we're kind of wrapping up here? The chat has gotten pretty big, so I apologize if your question has not been answered. If you do want to send it in the chat one more time. One thing I want to note too is that it is really important also to think about the kind of platforms that you're using and how they'll translate to tracking. It's a little bit tangent. I know it doesn't have to do with AdGrant as much, but I just want all of you to keep in mind, when you're choosing a donation platform, really look into the capabilities of tracking. There are some platforms that don't allow GTM to be put on the page. And so then you're kind of blind, not able to see the real impact of not just ad grants, but your other marketing channels on how they're bringing in users and if they're donating. So I definitely would encourage you all to kind of do some research when you're looking up new platforms and tools to use, and just really push the team and ask them if it has more advanced tracking capabilities. This is something that we'll definitely cover in our events and webinars this year at Community Boost, but just wanted to throw that in because it's just so important. You all do so much work, on your website with ad grants, and you're building up these strategies to drive people to your site. But if you can't really see the impact that these channels are making, then you're kind of just optimizing blind. And so just wanted to give a little shameless plug for tracking, especially as it relates to donation platforms.
Yeah. And one more thing to add off of that too, because it's a fantastic point, is that tracking information, that conversion data, that's really important, not only to know, what people are doing on your site, but it also gives Google so much more information as to, what are the other users that potentially make those conversions as well. And it's a really key part to using smart bidding strategies, which are amazing resources and amazing just algorithms that help campaigns run and help them build up. But they really give a lot of data to those bidding strategies to increase those conversion rates as well. So tracking, we cannot emphasize enough how important it is.
Okay. Let's see. So the differences in strategies for targeting organizations or businesses as opposed to users or individual donors. This is a little bit tricky. I will say with audience targeting, you can go after specific industries and job functions. That is kind of probably the deepest level that you could target specific organizations or businesses, unless that's kind of indicated in the keywords. I think this is still a little bit more general, but one example would be like corporate volunteering opportunities. That indicates that someone is at a company looking for their team to get more involved with volunteering with a nonprofit. So that in itself indicates that you're kind of going to be reaching someone from a business or organization. But outside of that, using the audiences to target, the industries and job functions, that's as granular as we can really go in Google Ads. Again, everything can be supplemented with other marketing channels as well. And so you can be kind of layering on as much targeting as possible within Google Ads, but then through Facebook ads, be able to target a little bit more specifically to like brand names. And just a note that you will be getting a follow-up with this deck and all of the information. And so you'll have all of this for your own resource. So don't worry about that. And let's see, we can help you figure out Facebook ads. Maybe not Isabel and myself personally, but our team is just best in class in Facebook ads. And so you can also, if you go to communityboost.org/let's talk, you can just kind of note that you're also interested in Facebook ads, and we can definitely get connected. Our team is just incredible at Facebook. We also have a lot of webinars and events around Facebook advertising. So just stay tuned. Another reason to join the texting community, to just make sure that you're not missing any webinars or events from us on a whole host of channels. We also do email marketing. We really didn't touch on Google Display or YouTube, but that is one of our core services as well, as well as SEO. So we definitely have more in our wheelhouse outside of Google Ad Grants, and our team is more than happy to talk with you about that.
Lots of different stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we are wrapping up, just let us know if there are any last minute questions. Otherwise, you will get the follow-up with this deck. And again, we were just so grateful that you all came to the webinar and got to learn a little bit more about Google Ad Grants. And we hope that we can get connected to talk even more about specific strategies in your account and just ways that we can help your nonprofit. Awesome. Okay, one more question that I am going to acknowledge because I think Aman, you had asked this before, but just touching on bidding strategies for paid versus grants, just wanted to know that those are going to be very similar. We still employ smart bidding strategies, even I'd say more importantly in a paid search account. Definitely use smart bidding strategies. There are a variety. Our favorites are maximize conversions, target CPA, maximize conversion value, but there are also others like target return on ad spend. So you can definitely play around with different smart bidding strategies, but for the most part, it's going to be the same, whether it's a grant account or a paid account. Awesome. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Again, please feel free to follow up and reach out. We would love to get connected and talk even more about ad grants, but I'll let us get about 6 more minutes of our day left. And thank you all for joining. And happy Fool's Day. I was hesitant. Let's see, is it still?
We still got 42 people.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I think we'll end there.
Cool. I'll see you later.